Thank you so much for coming today.
皆さん今日はお越しいただきまして、どうもありがとうございます。
My name is Kent Hovind. I was a high school science teacher for 15 years.
私の名前はケント・ホビンドです。私は15年間高校の科学の教師をしておりました。
Now I travel around the world and speak on creation, evolution, and dinosaurs.
今私は世界中いろいろなところを回って創造、進化、そして恐竜について講演をしております。
I prayed for a 14-year-old boy at a camp, and it was a very intense prayer. After about 15 minutes of praying, he stopped talking and began talking again in words I could not understand. The sentences were very structured, and frankly, I was surprised. We had to lay him on the floor because he began to lean against people around him. After waiting for him to come out of his experience, I asked him what it was like and what happened. He explained to me that incredible peace came over his body and that he could not control the words that he spoke. He also said he could not move his limbs or open his eyes.
Real quick, just right there, they can look, probably the most relevant, one that churches will allude to in Scripture is the book of Corinthians and what they were talking about there. Already, if you have no control over it, that's not what Corinthians is talking about in the first place. Uncontrollable speaking, it doesn't even talk about that.
Right, not be able to move your arms or open your eyes?
Yeah, Paul says, if they want to allude to Paul saying, therefore I will pray with my spirit and sing with my spirit and all that and pray with my mind, he's doing that. Whatever he's doing is controlled. He can control it. So if they're saying, I just can't control it, that's possession. If you cannot control what you're doing, then that's not what it's not even what it's talking about.
That does sound like it's from God.
Yeah. When has God completely taken away your free will? You've got a big theological problem there.
You really do. Yep. Okay. It's true people have experiences. It's interesting. There's a sect of Jews since 1,000 years ago have been speaking in tongues. Part of their normal practice.
Or what they understand to be speaking in tongues.
Right. Yeah. Here they are, not Christians at all, and that's what they do. There are, pagans beating the drum and, dancing around the campfire, with a bone in their nose that would do similar things. You can work yourself up into a frenzy with any kind of like the music. A lot of the rock music does too. Okay. Anyway, he could not move his limbs. I'm concerned about tongues. I feel they are a gift, but they should be used reasonably. They should be for prophesying, healing, etc. Prophecy. I do not have respect for churches or pastors that fake it's a gift from God. Just thought I'd share that story. Interesting story. Okay. See, there's a lot of experiential stuff. You got to be even cautious of that because what does the Word say? Not what does the experiment.
That's what, in a lot of things, I grew up in Pentecostal churches, charismatic churches, and never once, looking back, I was never encouraged to study out the tongue situation in the Bible. Never. Not once.
Right.
And looking back, it is so incredibly different than what I grew up in. It's completely different.
Sure. Well, I'm willing for whatever God has for me, But what would the purpose of it be? What good would it do? Edify yourself. Go around and say, I'm spiritual, I've done this, you haven't, so I'm ahead of you. Anyway. Okay, who's on the phone there, John?
We got Jared on the phone.
Jared?
Yep.
Now, you were, at one time, you claimed you were a believer. Where somebody just wrote in about the tongues issue. I don't know if you've been listening, but...
yeah, I was listening.
Speaking in tongues. Did you ever do that?
Actually, I didn't, but I've been... I'm getting feedback.
Well, there's 800 buttons over here, and we're just a little baffled on how to do it. But we're working on it. Is that better, Jared?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Go ahead. What's your question?
Well, actually, yeah, I think I was...
All right. Welcome back, folks, to the Creation Science Hour and a half. Kent Hovind and Jonathan Sampson here, the final segment, August 1st of 2005. You can call in 850-479-DINO, extension 136, or you can instant message us at Dr. Dino Live. AOL instant message Dr. Dino Live.
They're going to have to bear with us for the rest of the program. We've got that nasty background static, and if I start messing with it, I'm sure that's probably
after the program. We're going to work on it.
Yeah,
rewire the whole county.
Yeah,
that'll solve
bear
it.
with us. We're in the process of installing a much better flow.
Well, we've been hit by lightning about 10 times, plus 2 hurricanes. So we're getting hard. We can possibly not make anything get better. Anyway, Jared, go ahead. You had a comment about something I forgot now.
Oh, well, you were trying to speak to tongues. I was going to say that I have with thought. My parents were Christian. If they weren't Pentecostal.
All right.
And the purpose of it, I think, is supposed to be like channeling God, basically, or channeling the Holy Spirit.
I don't know what. I've never done it. I've only seen it one time. Scared me half to death.
But you have read about the parts that talk about the Pentecost.
Oh, I've read it hundreds of times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's all there's people compared to Christians think that, but lots of times.
Well, it's actually, coming from the Pentecostal church, I would say that it's not necessarily the day of Pentecost. We would say, I don't even believe it anymore, but whenever I was in, we distinguished it pretty thoroughly from the day of Pentecost, because no one can obviously understand their own language.
Yeah, the Bible says you're supposed to have an interpreter. So.
Yeah, it's First Corinthians. It talks about only 2 or 3 can only have an interpreter. If John interpreters, you and God,
and no women.
Right. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Women keep out in the church. Yeah, that would shut up most of the churches. Right.
That are some of the preachers today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to ask Jonathan. You mentioned something about age rate of isotopes being laboratory.
Yeah.
Can you give me some information on that?
Yeah, the RATE project, actually, Larry Bartman, we're actually one of the groups was talking about it, and there's a specific journal, I can't tell you the exact one. I'll bring in the book tomorrow and read the references off to you.
Well, there's secular journals. On ICR.org would have it?
They've got a lot of their articles on there. I don't know if the acceleration of their K articles are on there, but I'm sure they probably have some information, and they've referenced several times that scientists have free. So which is known, you can do it with carbon by running water over.
Well, they know that just the solar sunspot cycle changes the carbon-14 decay rate. Every 11 years we have a sunspot cycle, and because of the extra sunspots, it causes more C14. Upsets the calendar. So that had to be taken into account just in the last, 15 years.
Well, when you were debating Michael Sherman, you showed now that have carbon dating rates of 12,000 or
27,000
living
standards.
And he says, well, that's because they're bringing excess carbon that wasn't natural that they're doing their environment.
The river that came out of in Tennessee, right? Yeah, I read all that.
It doesn't sound like we're talking about the same thing. The decay rate and the rate at which the isotopes come from the atmosphere.
True. Well, even the decay rate, the solar sunspot cycle, I know it affects the rate at which it comes into the atmosphere, and if I recall, the article was talking about affecting the decay rate also.
I don't see how that's possible, but I have to know.
Well, Jonathan's checking out ICR.org to see if they have the rate project up there where you can read it. It's a very complex book, but obviously, to test something for 3 or 5 or 10 days in a laboratory and then extrapolate that over 4.5 billion years, you'd have to admit that would be a little bit of a stretch, don't you think?